What's happening, everybody? It's your man Dame D NYDC. It's two mics up. It's two mics up business corner. And it's that Friday again. And today we are going into kind of what probably looks like behind me today. That metaverse, that space and place where I don't know, reality and fake, I don't know, distorts itself. But today's guest joining me on the other mic has really done a lot of work in this field and in this space, and background in cybersecurity and as an author. And he's really spoke about things long before we really got to this point. And what he's going to do today is he's going to enlighten us with some of the metaverse and some of his thoughts and some of his works. And I hope you enjoy it. Like, really take time to really think about it, because we're living in that space nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you believe it or not, whether you can tell the fake from the real, enjoy today's conversation, because this man is bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience and a great conversation, I believe, to all of us. So without further ado, put your hands together and welcome Mr. Winn Schwartau. Winn, how are you doing today, my friend?
Wow, what an introduction. Great. Everything's great. It is hot out, but it's nice in here. Well, thank you for having me. This is I'm looking forward to this.
Well, so am I. I'm really psyched, because this is really something that we are living in, today, right? And you've talked about this for quite a while. But before I start and really get into that, I always like to open up with just a little fun and a little get to know you. When in 5 words or less, let us in our audience know who is Winn Schwartau and why you chose those words to describe yourself.
Oh my God. Thankfully, I had a little bit of heads up on this, so I could go to AI and ask. Experienced,
okay,
iconoclastic, analog, science-oriented thinker.
Wow, those were so a couple of words that stick out. The analog part you throw in there, and today, why did you choose those words? Because there's a couple of things that really stick out, but they're kind of like a oxymoron in my mind from what I've been able to read and understand about you. So why those words?
Iconoclastic is my work has been fairly original and often against the grain.
True.
And then 10 or 20, 30 years later, they go, oh, yeah, that was right. And I guess I've stuck with that. And so that's the iconoclastic. Okay. Analog. I was a recording engineer and music.
Oh, wow.
And my father was, my mother was. I grew up in a family of engineers. And we think we live in a digital world, and we really don't. It's just very, very fast analog. And when you decide to turn off extremes, you decide to say, there are no zeros, there are no ones. It is everything in between.
Right.
It's a spectrum of stuff, whatever the topic is.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Because if you have zero, then you're a nihilist and there is nothing at all. Through it all.
Right.
I don't know the rating on your show, so I should be careful.
Go ahead. Wait, this is a discussion.
No, I know, but sometimes I get overly colorful. You ought to hear my wife's.
Oh yeah, well we don't want to get that colorful. We
can do that. That's what I want. The rules. You just gave me an option.
Okay.
And then you go to 1. If you're at 1, you're completely the system. You as a human, or whatever the 1 is, it's out of control.
Right.
So the only way to keep things going is to have a balance that's a little greater than 0 and a little less than 1.
Mm-hmm.
And everything exists pretty much within that realm.
Right.
We don't know what zeros and ones really are.
True. 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 I
So
really.
that's and then science oriented. I love a bar conversation of speculation and crazy conspiracy mythomania with the next guy. I really do. But when it comes to my work, no, it's you. I really want it to be as close and as accurate as I possibly can. Does that mean it's going to be 100% right? No, there's no
No.
such 100%.
Right.
And when when and if people find errors or suggestions or add-ons, I love it because that means okay, I'm on to a little something. When I
Right.
was doing the speech in Paris 8 years ago, and I tell the audience, I say, my job is to get you out of your comfort zone.
That's right.
Your job is to call out my BS.
That's right.
And if you're right, I'll buy the beer. If
Yeah.
I'm right, you're buying
Mm,
me a beer.
that's fair.
And this guy in the middle of my talk, he stands up on his chair and he goes, I hereby call BS on you. And he does something. And I said, wow, that is great. I don't know if you're right or wrong, but can we do that after the
That's what
talk?
it is. Yeah.
And so about 10 of us got together and we're thinking, and he has been my dearest friend. He has done and
That's
supported me
awesome.
from his mathematical expertise. And that's how you learn things. You don't learn things by just saying you know everything. If you don't, no matter what it is,
And
the
I love
older I
that.
get, the less I know.
And it's true though. I think the more you're willing to be in a room, see, you think you're the smartest fish in your pond or the biggest fish, right? But when you start to engage with others, I'm the same way. I enjoy good conversation and thought, right? We can have opinions and ideas, but if you can express something to me that one, it makes me like I don't agree with it, but I'm gonna go now. I'm challenged to go find out about it. I'm now challenged to, you know what, hey, when I'm gonna call you back on that. And to build on it, I think that's where the key in educating and elevating and getting us to move forward as a society, because not one person is always right. Now,
And you always learn more you learn more from being wrong than
there
from
you go.
being right.
So true. And speaking on that, then when given your breadth of experience, in your field, with cybersecurity and cyber threats,
Mhm.
how has it really evolved, if any? Right? Because I mean, 'cause I see you laughing, and I wanted to just know, like, just from because I remember reading, you had the term, the electric Pearl Harbor or
Electronic Pearl
electronic Pearl
Harbor.
Harbor. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, yes.
yeah.
And what do you see? Like, how has it evolved, and what do you see as the most, you know, pressing cyber security threat today? And please explain that term for those. I want them to go out and get your book and get your books and read, but like explain that term too, if you could, while explaining
Um,
the
uh,
rest of the question.
an electronic Pearl Harbor. I said it 35 years, whatever years ago, in front of Congress to make a point, and the point was at that time that we didn't take security or privacy very seriously at all, and breaking into government systems or any other computer system that may have been attached to, such as the internet was in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
uh, it was essentially defenseless. There were no real. I mean, it was so trivial to do it for many, many reasons. But that threat, we call that a threat landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became about individuals, about people. And it was identity theft, stealing your
Right.
names. And how many billions and billions of dollars are lost on that? It's a
Right.
direct threat. And I called that a lack of privacy issues.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, what I call class one information warfare,
Wow.
where the individual does get affected by this stuff. And just looking at the individual level, never mind the China versus Russia and us,
No.
all
Right.
that stuff. That's
Right.
another issue. But everyday people are still getting nailed all sorts
Hammered.
of different ways.
Hammered.
And what it has evolved into over the years is more threats. And as the software has given us more abilities and more
True.
capabilities, when you make things more complex, well, then your security and privacy issues suddenly become much more important that have to be dealt with, and
Right.
things break. I'm
Right.
not saying that's good, not justifying it, but yeah. But at the back end of it all, it's all about people.
Yeah.
And
True.
whether it is people designing the software and the systems in a secure manner, and I'm using that in quotes because there is
Mm-hmm.
no such thing as perfect security, or it is the user, the person on their phone or
Mm.
computer that makes assumptions and doesn't take the time to, unfortunately, take some time to figure this out.
That's right.
And that is part of the IT industry's problem, and Microsoft and Apple and all of them.
All of that. Right.
Is this stuff, and it's this back and forth. I want more capability. I want to be able to do more, but make it really simple, and then make it really secure.
For
And
sure.
those, you gotta
It's a lot
you
of
gotta
moving
pick
pieces.
something. And so we're in that battle, and so people are still, throughout the entire spectrum uh, of creating it to using it.
Mm.
That's still the largest single threat.
I believe it, because I mean it's constantly changing too. With the securities and all these different things, and what it leads me to, or really makes me think of, is the education piece, right? Um, and you spoke about that, like the interdisciplinary,
Yep.
approach in cybersecurity. Now, and help me if I'm right, because it makes me think, like, can you elaborate on how integrating like engineering, like the history part and humanity, like how can that
Mm.
really have or enhance, if you will, the effectiveness of a cybersecurity professional?
Well, and I'm not saying this is universal,
Okay.
but it is enough for me to really complain about.
Okay.
Is that the educational system for the majority of, again, not every place, but too many places,
Right.
they run you through. Can you? Okay, how well can you code? Do you know all your ports? You know you know your protocols. Can you design this? Can you run a firewall? Can you manage this kind of system? And some very, very technical things,
Right.
absolutely,
Right.
that require skill sets.
Right.
Not arguing that at all. But that, in my opinion, based upon my conversations with people over the last 30 years, is not quite enough. Because we'll
Mm.
get into a discussion, and I'll say something. They'll say, "Oh, I'm being overloaded with signal," and I know that's a technical term, but the same thing happens to your mind.
True.
You can get overloaded,
True.
and I would say something like, "Well, that's basically a problem from Shannon," and that is a reference to a guy who's a guy way back when
Yeah.
who formalized information theory,
Mm.
and people don't know that
Mm.
portion of the history.
True. First I'm hearing of it.
Um, when I talk to people about early days of computer viruses and how they spread and what it was done, they go, "Wow, that is so old school." And I said, "But the mechanisms are the same. We're
It's
just in
still
a
the same.
different environment.
Right.
And if you don't understand what we've been through, you're going to keep trying to reinvent the wheel all the damn
Mm.
time
Mm.
instead of using some of that experience that you obviously didn't get." And then the third area is, this is people. At the end of every single computer, doesn't matter what the device is,
Mhm.
there is a person, there is a human being of some sort. How well do you understand human behavior?
Mm. Hmm. Wow, that's
What
powerful.
makes a user care? Why does somebody care about any of this?
Mm.
Oh, you care because you're a geek. I'm a geek. I love
Right.
this stuff. It's fun.
Right.
A lot of people go, "Oh, geez, it's just work in a
Yeah.
hand." And
Right.
then you
It's
want me to secure it too? What are
right.
you, nuts?
Yeah. Yeah. All of those variations in there. And
And so
that's the human piece.
we make it very, very difficult
Mhm.
for people. The ones that have it right, believe it or not,
Mhm.
gamers, game designers,
Hmm. It's
they
interesting.
engage you. Their entire goal is to engage you
It's a very good
in
point.
that user interface
Face,
that you
right.
can't get out of, that
For
immersive
hours and
experience.
hours at a time. Yes. Yeah, that's a very
And
good point.
everything else is it's a pain in the tuchus.
Hmm.
It really is. And users, I said, how can people know all this stuff if
Wow.
all they want to do is do their job? And you really got to also know a fair amount of this stuff too.
Wow.
And it seems sort of unfair. So those are the three areas that would help, I think, in education to make our professionals better. The one other thing I harp about when it comes to education
Mm-hmm.
is, unfortunately, they teach success, and I'm not. I know that sounds oxymoronic, but I'm not necessarily. Why not teach failure? You learn from
Learn more.
failure.
Yeah.
It's an emotional growth. It's a technical growth. It's
True.
all of those things.
True.
And learning how to turn failure into opportunity. And you look at some of the original, the Chinese word for crisis is also means opportunity.
The same
So
thing.
in education, now, so you're hiring, let's say you're hiring for
Right.
whatever technical job it is. It could be an
Okay.
audio engineer,
Okay.
like I used to do, or a
Okay.
geek doing this stuff. And you have two candidates.
Right.
And one candidate, and you're saying, well, tell me how things have been for you technically, and what have you grown? He says, I've never had a system failure. Everything has always worked, never had a problem at all.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of my networking skills. Yada, yada, yada. And the other guy goes, oh, damn, man, I got to tell you about this one. It was a 36-hour day of hell.
Right. Right.
And then anybody who's any good will then proceed to tell you what they learned.
Right. Right.
And so I want people that have been through failure. I think we
I
are
agree.
filtering the experience and the
Experience.
raw edges out of a lot of the HR process.
I really like that because I do tend to agree. I mean, having been on the opposite side as a director and a hiring manager, I always tend to go with the person that either A had less experience or was more trainable, but through their story, they've had experiences where they failed and they didn't get certain. And to me, that meant that that person was trainable. That person would be willing versus a person who's never failed or never had, all they've had was success. They're going to come in and tell me how to do the job because
If
that's
you
how we
never
did.
failed, you never tried.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't need anybody who's going to come in and tell me, okay, well, this is how we did it over here. Okay, well, I don't care about over there. You're not over there anymore. You're over here. And and there's a reason why probably that you're not over there anymore. So just things like that. But I appreciate you, sharing that. And I want to take a short pause for the cause and thank our sponsors. But I want to come back and talk about the concept of the Metawar
Okay,
that you speak about in
cool.
relation to the metaverse. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We want to take a short pause for the cause, and we're going to come right back on the flip side of this short commercial break.
Two Mics Up Business Corner, brought to you by our partners at 94 Media House. 94 Media House is a small company that provides digital design services to other small business owners and creators. Some of their services include web design, brand identity development, and social media management. And what can I say about our partners over at TD3 Enterprises? They're bringing you quality beyond compare, top-notch services and support under their entire umbrella. Two Mics Up Business Corner, top-notch. So let's get back to the show.
Right there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we're back with the amazing Winn Schwartau. We've been talking about all of the cybersecurity and all of the changes and things and Wynn's experience, but we're going to talk about something, Winn, that really I think is one of the things that to me is really very crucial to today when you spoke about the Metawar as it relates to the metaverse. And everybody was all in a hubbub and a hubrush and I want to know from your perspective, what's the potential security, privacy, ethical implications of this whole concept? And really,
Right.
if there's an organization that's watching this, right? How should they or how could they prepare for these challenges?
Well, the first thing you got to do is start understanding and what is coming.
Mm-hmm.
What is the metaverse? Is
Right.
one of the questions I get,
Right.
and you think about the Ready Player One or
Yep.
Three Body Problem stuff,
Mm-hmm.
or the holodeck from
Yeah.
Star Trek,
Yes.
and that is not real.
No.
Not real at all. And is it going to be real? Yeah, okay. And we can talk about all the technological things.
Okay.
The metaverse, at least the way that I look at it, is creating a believable narrative, is manipulating your sense of reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And Metawar is the art and science of doing that. So, for example, you're reading a book and you're really into this novel and they're doing whatever, whatever your genre is. Cool.
Right.
And then you pick up the Coke or the water or the dog barks or whatever, and suddenly you are no longer in that metaverse. You just left it. You were in it, and you didn't know you were in it at all.
Right.
Until you leave it.
Hmm.
The philosophical implications of that with reality distortion are absurd.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
It really is.
Crazy.
And so now go back 1,800 years, and Homer is sitting with a group of guys around a campfire in ancient Greece with the black skies. You can see the Milky Way. And he's telling them of the tales of brave Ulysses and the Battle at Troy.
Right. Around the campfire.
If you close your eyes, and I do this with audiences, I make them close it, and I drag them somewhere.
Yep.
Then I pull them out, and they didn't. You don't realize it until you're pulled out.
Pulled out of it.
When you're watching TV, the only time you notice is when you pick up the bag of chips.
That's right.
Or the little SD wheel starts. Then you.
That's right. Yep.
You go, darn.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. It's so true.
And it's all reality immersion. It's all reality distortion and entertainment. Movies are supposed to do that.
Right.
Books narratives are supposed to do music is supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But now with technology, the ugly underside is exposing itself.
You know, that this makes me want to, with all of that, and your work on that reality distortion and disinformation warfare, if you will. Let's take it to a global level then. What is the collective, impact, if you will, on our perception? Because I know how I feel about it and how I see, people just don't understand anymore reality versus truth. But what has it been from your perspective and in your work, that distortion and disinformation warfare? How has it really impacted us?
Trust nothing, and then verify it.
I love that.
True story. The DEF CON, the world's largest hacker conference, was a few weeks ago. And I was going to be meeting a friend of mine, this lady that I have known forever. And she goes, I want to talk to you not on Signal, but on a Telegram or another service that she preferred. Fine. So I go over, and then she goes over, and we say hello. And I say, I really need you to prove to me who you are.
What?
And I said, tell me something that only you and I would ever know.
Wow.
And all it is, some little snippet of something over the years.
Right.
Trust nothing. David Cameron, the prior prime minister, the UK, right before he left office, he was on a Zoom call with the president of Ukraine, having all these conversations and everything. It was all an AI fake.
Wow. Look at that.
Trust nothing. When you get that phone call that says, Mommy, I need $20. Or my car is stuck, or whatever it is.
Right.
Oh boy.
You've got to really question. You've got to really question
everything.
Yeah.
Unless you have established a level of trust. It's like when you log in from your phone.
Yeah.
To your bank.
I totally get it.
After like 2 weeks, it goes, I don't trust you anymore. I want to talk to your telephone.
Yeah, telephone, right. Yeah, or verify or whatever. Right.
And each facility out there will have its own different rules. Yeah. But you notice that they're all coming around using time as the mechanism to do it, which is an analog function.
Very true. Very true. Back to your initial, very, very, very back to your introduction. Man,
it all ties together.
It really does. That's amazing. And man, look, time flies so fast. I mean, this has been a great conversation, and we have so much more that we could really unpack. And I'm going to tell you, like I tell all of our guests, when you're more than welcome to come back. We can dig into this further. But I do want to ask you before we go, taking me like what's next for Winn Schwartau? Like, where you going to be? You going to be out speaking? Where can we, because I want our audience to go out and buy your books and find you. And where are you going to be at next? What's next on your schedule?
In a few days, I'm headed back to Europe for a conference
Mm-hmm.
in Amsterdam. Then I'm up in London for a few days. I'll take 2 days off there to kind of want to go to some theater. Then back here for a couple. Then back on the road again. I travel a lot. I
Okay.
really do. So it's more the same. I have no intention of writing another book. I've said that before, but I've lied to myself and everybody.
Okay.
I'm going to update it. Right now, the thesis is so new. It reminds me so much of 30 years ago.
Wow.
Of when cyber war and info war, and I was saying, oh, this is all. And then a community started getting built. And it's kind of has that vibe going on now.
The energy's
as
back.
We're just kind of getting started trying to create that this is not a cyber problem. It's not just a technical problem. It's a teacher problem. It's a policy problem. It's a government problem. It's a military. Everybody.
It's a collective. Yeah, it's a whole collective problem that needs to be addressed.
So if people are interested in following up, the book is called The Art and Science of Metawar. Okay. The Kindle version is on Amazon right now. The hard copy is coming out in a few days when Amazon and we technically get our act together a little bit more. Another few days there. To follow updates and blog stuff, winnschwartau.com. Everything will be coming out of there. And there it is. Yep.
Okay.
So it's not the easiest to remember, but it took me a while. I didn't quite get it until I was older.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. Well, that's what we're here for. Modern technology at its best. We're getting it in as best we can. We try. Man, when I'm just really blown away. Just the simplicity, one, to be able to just break it down in Noman's term, so hopefully I want our audience to be able to understand, at least in the simplistic form and version right now, of what's going on and what we should really be paying attention to. Like I said, you're always welcome to come back. We can do this and we can go a little bit deeper and get into it, because it's really necessary, I do believe, to have this conversation. We really need to understand what's really taking part and has really been embedded and ingrained in our lives. I mean, we can talk about the new iPhones that's coming out with Chat GTP and everything, and AI already built into it, and you don't have a say anymore.
It gets a lot worse than that.
That's what I'm just scratching the surface.
We should do a show on digital addictions.
And look, that's a whole, like I said, we can sit down and we can build a whole nother conversation. There's just so much to talk about, but people just pay attention, be careful, protect yourself, protect your identity, and those that you care for. Have these conversations more often.
Trust nothing and then verify.
There you go. You heard it from the word of Winn Schwartau. Today's amazing guest, Winn. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, there you have it. It's been another episode of Two Mics Up Business Corner. You're now watching Two Mics Up Business Corner on my channel, the Infusion TV channel, which airs on the Mogul TV Global Network. Two Mics Up Business Corner every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to check me out Monday nights, 8 p.m. for our celebrity talk show. We're at, of course, on the Infusion TV channel here on the Mogul TV Global Network. And like we always do at the end of each and every segment, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with two things and my favorite point. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mics out.
007.